everybody, I'm Suzanne, and today's painting, we are going to paint turkeys. Now, I was actually inspired by the fact, well, here in the United States, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and we traditionally eat turkey. Well, the holiday kind of snuck up on me. Honestly, I thought I had another week, and we do Thanksgiving at my house. So like, I'm sort of the one responsible for providing turkey. And guess what? I hadn't even purchased my bird yet. So I thought, you know what? This may be the only turkey I get this Thanksgiving. So I figured I'll go ahead and paint some. So that's what today's painting's all about. And it's also really cold here. It's early cold. Like, it's been like in the 20s. In the morning here. I wake up, normally I walk Singer at 6, and it's too cold. I'm sorry, I'm a weenie, but I'm not getting out when it's 22 degrees out. So today's painting, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you the painting itself. Here's our painting. And it was inspired by the cold and the fact that it's Thanksgiving time and I needed some turkey. I need some turkey in my life, and one way or another, I'm gonna get it. So that's why I painted some turkeys. So follow along, enjoy today's video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and do it now. You know you're gonna love this painting. And you know, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe and consider my membership program as well. And let's go ahead and jump in to these turkeys. Here's our palette for our little turkey piece that we're going to be painting. Now I kind of have these colors sort of arranged in particular order, as far as some turkey colors, some snow colors, and some colors that will probably be a little of both. So what I have here is, this is Gamblin's Cobalt Teal, and it's an opaque color. This is, Blue Ridge, Cadmium Green, also opaque, Yellow Ochre, Blue Ridge. Now it looks like I have two of the same colors, but this is Winsor Newton's red. What is it called? Light red, and it's opaque. This happens to be Michael Harding's Burnt Sienna. Now they do look very similar, but I needed this color for its opacity. This one's semi-transparent. This is Burnt Umber, Michael Harding, Winsor Newton's Ivory Black. I have, that's King's Blue, Richardson, Titanium White, Winsor Newton. This is Amethyst Parm by Charvine. This is Cobalt, and it is Winsor Newton. I have, what is this color? That is Michael Harding's, yeah, I'm gonna tell you the wrong color. No, actually, it's not Michael Harding. It's Manganese Violet, and it's Richardson, sorry. And we have, what is this color? Oh, this is Caput Mortem, Sinaille. This is Raw Umber, Winsor Newton, and Michael Harding's Magenta. Now this is a transparent color, but these are the colors I think I'm starting with. I may add a few more as we move along the piece, but let's have fun with our turkeys. Okay, here's our setup today. We've got all our paints over here, and again, I have kind of my wintry cool colors up at the top. Some of what I'm thinking is going to be my turkey colors, and a little bit of what can be applied to both. So I am looking at this overall composition that I came up with. This is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So I wanted to kind of, you know, give tribute to our turkey. So I wanted to do it in more of a, you know, here in East Tennessee, turkey season, if you will, is in the spring. And, but I wanted to do a cooler winter. I just kind of was inspired by wanting to do snow, really. It's been cold here, and I kind of just been feeling it. So I'm just gonna jump in. I wanna keep the background sort of cool, and I'm gonna go in with some browns. I'm gonna mix a little Ivory Black with Caput Mortem. I like Caput Mortem. It is it's kind of a liver color, but it's one of my I actually purchased it a long time ago because I had a piece that I was doing of some Boykin Spaniels. And for those who aren't familiar with the Boykin, it is a very much a livery color dog. But since I had used that paint, I was like, I love this paint. And I'm just kind of going to suggest where things are going in the background. I'm going very light with my paint initially. And sometimes my background may change up some. I'm going to grab a little cobalt because I want to increase the opacity here. Yeah. The Caput Mortuum is also very opaque, I think. And I will have a lot of other things going on back here. And I want to include snow in the back, but everything in the back, if there's snow in the back, it's going to be very cool. And I am going in with a little bit of King's Blue, and I went ahead and hit the Cobalt Violet too. And I'm just kind of making some of this up. I clean my brush just a tiny bit and a little bit stronger. Now you're getting a sense of the coolness that I'm adding to this, and you can see the colors I'm putting in. Now I'm using the Ultimate Flat by Rosemary. It's a great brush. I need it to be a little bit coarser because I'm putting down the tree, and I want everything to be very soft in the background because, folks, I know I'm going to be adding snow. So I want to add to the coolness and the coldness that this particular scene makes me feel. So I'm not really putting in a lot of detail into the background. And just kind of emphasizing contrast so you can see the tree there and whatever I'm going to be putting in the back. Now, those who know me know that I do not like to leave my wildlife insecure, if you will. I like to keep them somewhat protected. So here I'm mixing a little bit off to the side. I'm mixing some color for some corn husks, or corn shocks that are out in this. I want to give these birds some food and some shelter. So I'm using my favorite Rosemary number 3 Eclipse long filbert, and I am adding or suggesting what is corn, corn plants. And so I start with the darker colors first, and then I'll go ahead and layer up with some of the lighter colors on top. Again, I don't want this to be a lot of detail. Now, I did put that little hen turkey right in the midst. Her head is popping up on the horizon line. So as I'm working this through, I'm a bit perplexed in how I'm going to actually manage that because I want the contrast. So I'm lightening the background around the little hen turkey. And, so I keep futzing around, if you will, until it actually feels right to me. Of course, everybody knows I love my little Creative Mark wipeout tools. So I'm just scratching in some kind of detail and stuff while the paint is wet. The ultimate scratching little tool right there. I love this. And of course, the information for that particular tool, as are most of my brushes that I use, is in the description of this video. So just popping it in. So I kind of feel silly about where I have that bird's head, the hen, but I'll work around it. You'll see. And I'll be able to make this work however I oftentimes feel my way through a painting. So nothing's for sure until it's done. So I will add my plant material and everything else to make it so it doesn't look like this turkey is heading into a field, like a hole. So you can see I'm kind of bopping it around, but I do want to keep the value a little bit lighter. I'll leave the background alone for a little bit. I'm gonna kind of block in around the bird, around the tom turkey, because I'm gonna kind of get up to this area and then start into the bird, because I like a wet edge to paint into. And snow, y'all, is very rarely white. It's usually a gray, but it could have a lot of really fun colors bouncing around in it if you know, whatever the light is offering. So I'm going to go ahead and just suggest that there's snow, and you can see I've gone in with a pretty neat, interesting gray, and I'm going to go right up around this bird. And you know, there's probably going to be some I don't know, it doesn't look that fancy here. I'm just kind of getting this in here. And I will do the foreground snow later, but I just wanted to get this in. So I'm just kind of blocking it in, and you can see I can go up a little bit lighter on some of the snow where I want to create some depth in the snow. And again, I'm using that the Ultimate Flat by Rosemary to do some of the foliage and, you know, little bits of grass and stuff that's poking up through the snow. But again, I'm not wanting to do a lot of detail back there because, folks, it's in the background, and two, I'm going to be adding snow, so like actual falling snow. So this is fun. All right, I'm cleaning my brush really well. I'm going to go in and still use my number 3 Rosemary Long Filbert, and I'm going to start on his tail or fan. And like I was saying before, with a turkey, like if he was a juvenile or a Jake, his fan would be like, he would have longer feathers here, and then they were, whereas an adult bird has a uniform amount of feathers. And I know too, like I think the wing feathers also can tell age. I think the young Jakes have pointed wing feathers, and the adults are more rounded. So this is obviously going to be an adult bird. I'm using my little brush, and I didn't like the color there, so I'm going to add a little yellow. And I'm using a little of Yellow Lake Deep by Michael Harding and adding that to some, it looks like burnt sienna, but I think I'm actually using Light Red by Winsor Newton, which is a lot more opaque. So I need the opacity here because I know that I'm going to be adding some black on top, and I need that red to stand out, and I don't want it to blend in. So I'm putting my bands on this fan using ivory black, and just trying to keep it a little bit softer as I plop everything in there. Now there will be a lot of little stripes and detail in that fan, and I know that. That's why I went with the opacity. I needed that opaque paint. Sorry about my wrist being in the way, but I'm putting the little soft edges on the ends of the tail feathers. So I need that wet edge to work into, and so I may be going back and forth a little bit with the background colors because it will actually have white on the very, very edges. So I'm just kind of softening and working that in a little bit as I move. And so I'll just keep popping in paint and blocking in this bird as I move through this piece. So I'm going to take an older brush. This is an old pointed round, an ivory pointed round, but because it's old and a little bit frayed, it makes wonderful texture. So folks, I almost never throw out a brush. I will repurpose the brush. So maybe it doesn't quite have the edge it used to, but you know what? Now I don't need the edge because I need it to add that texture in the this part of the bird. So I'm using, it looks like black, but it is ivory black with, oh goodness, Prussian blue. It has Prussian blue in it because I wanted it to have a kind of a cooler, I don't know, a livelier black to this bird, because we know how much iridescence shows on a turkey. So it'll make for a interesting backdrop for my iridescence. Okay, so I have this I'm going to use this as a way of kind of, whoopsie, maybe I can do the other side. Scrape off
as a turkey is doing his strut, he will drag those wing feathers right on the ground. So you can see that I'm overlapping. So I have a cooler underneath of the feather where the primaries are hitting the ground and the secondaries are kind of going over it. So I'm kind of trying to distinguish all the feathers without making too much detail. And I know I'll have to do a lot of dark banding on those wing feathers. So I need a backdrop for them. So I'm just kind of popping it all in, and it's coming together. Again, I'm still in the blocking in stage, believe it or not, but you're getting to get a feel of this bird, right? He's starting to look like a pretty handsome turkey. As I continue to add to our tom turkey, I'm alternating between my Eclipse long filbert, the number 3, which is, by the way, my favorite brush to use. I oftentimes order more than one just because I love them so much. But I'll alternate between it and a number, I believe a 0 pointed round, Eclipse pointed round, because it's offering the detail. And I'm putting in this hen now, and she's got her back to us, and I want to be able to put enough detail where you can appreciate her, but not a lot of detail, because remember, folks, I am putting snow in this. There'll be snow falling down, and so I want to mute them out a little bit, just make them a little bit more muted. Again, here's the 0 Eclipse pointed round. It's a great brush, and it really does the trick for me. So you can see I'm putting those little white edges on the fan of this tom turkey, and it does the job. It gets in there in the tight places. I try to keep that brush as nice as I can. Now, sometimes, I think I switched over to an older, it's actually a little sword brush, an ivory sword. Because it's old, it's frayed. And because it's frayed, it makes a great edge to those feathers, as you can see. So I needed that to just, to make that actual detail. And so, like I said, folks, just because a brush is old doesn't mean you have to throw it out. You just repurpose it. And this is a perfect example of how many brushes have I used today that were repurposed. But I'm just adding more of the detail, adding in more of the definition in the bird. And here's the little stripes. Now, you have to kind of watch how they go, because each one of these feathers, there's each individual feather. This is not just a single fan. It's a fan made up of lots of feathers. So I'm using that little 0 pointed round, Eclipse pointed round, to do all the little details in the feathers. And so you have to be kind of mindful of the direction that the feathers fall, right? So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm actually doing the seam of the feather, putting in the little lines, etc., etc. All of this is very, very deliberate and very, very accurate in the way that the feathers are going. So you don't have to be an animal expert to know this. You just have to observe. So really, really study what you're painting when you're doing this, and you'll see the direction that everything's falling. It'll all make sense. And again, here is the number 0 eclipse pointed round doing its magic. So I'm laying in the bands in the wing feathers, and sorry, I must have knocked my camera, but I'm just laying in, and stacking those feathers, so you're not going to have a complete band where you have feathers that are stacked on each other, right? So know what you're putting in the delineation between the actual feathers, etc., etc. That's part of it. Knowing what you're actually painting, that makes a big difference. So I'm painting underneath the secondary feathers and painting the primaries now. So, that's going to look a little darker simply because it is also under the shadow. So just knowing and kind of understanding where light's falling is helpful. So you can see how this little brush really kind of just does a great job. And I haven't even gotten out my miniatures on this one, even though this is a very small piece. This is just an 8x10, I believe. So this is a small piece, but yet I've not used miniature brushes. I mean, yeah, Eclipse 0 is a pretty small brush, but that's the smallest one we used on this particular painting today, and there is a lot of detail to get in. So you'll see as I start moving through, you're going to start adding the iridescence to the feathers and all the good fun stuff that will happen here. I'm just enjoying this. This is a lot of fun for me, folks. Everybody knows I like detail anyway, so you get it. Now that I'm getting into some of the fun iridescence in these feathers, I'm getting to play with some fun colors, and I'm laying down some cobalt turquoise. It's a Gamblin color, and adding a little titanium white just to pop it up a little bit. And here on this part of the feathers, I'm actually using a very, very pale violet, which is what is it? Amethyst Parm is what it's called. It's a Charvine paint. But anyway, I'm having fun with the iridescence, and so I'm able to add all these fun colors. Now, where I used the paint scraper, you probably thought that on this part of the chest of the bird that was the actual detail. I was really just kind of scraping out an area where I could add this iridescence. So again, I'm alternating a lot of the color here in the iridescence because here I'm putting, it's actually, I'm using a little bit of yellow ochre mixed in with cad green and it's the cad green from Blue Ridge oils. And then of course going back and adding some of the black. I go back and forth between the colors. So, but I want to, each one of these feathers is almost like a little seashell laying, like you're stacking or scalloping, if you will. And so I want that, I want to use the black in between the colors to really emphasize that. And I do like to have a little overlap here on my Tom Turkey on the hens. And so his beard kind of comes out, and I wanted to kind of give his beard overlapping this hen, almost make the birds look like one unit. Because I can feel the cold. I wanted to give them a scratched out an area where they can be feeding and etc. So now we're going to come into fogging up the background. This is actually the second day, so I hoped I had enough dry time to just kind of lighten up the background. So I'm using a little bit of liquid and a combination of just titanium white and King's blue, and I'm putting that in the background because I want to fuzz it out. I'm kind of fading it out. Now, here's where you get to repurpose another brush. And I'm using a pretty big old brush. And I'm putting, again, I've got the liquid and that same gray paint that I just made. And I'm flicking it on. You could use a toothbrush or something else if you want to, but this old brush is doing the trick. And this is a pretty old brush. This is probably one of my mom's brushes. So this brush here is probably 30 or 40 years old, and it still works. And see how it's kind of made that little bit of snow in the background. So you kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of creating a lot more depth, a lot more mood, and I'm creating that snow. And it's very fine, and it just kind of makes that, this goes back to my old watercolor painting days, folks, and when I used to use toothbrushes to do a lot of gouache work to do snow like this. So, you know what? It all works. It all works. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that other people get snow in their paintings. But again, this is how I'm doing it today. And you'll see I'll actually use a little brush, too, to do some of the closer to you snowflakes. So if you're trying to create depth in a piece, you have to realize that the snowflakes that are far away from you will seem more closer together and smaller. And as they come forward in the closer to the viewer, the snowflakes get bigger and more spaced out. So you'll see, I'll get to that. But at this point, I'm just trying to ground these birds. I wanted it to look like as if they scratched out an area in the snow so that they could, actually forage for food. So I wanted to give them a surface. And so I'm just painting a little bit more of the foliage because I want to emphasize under the wings. I'll use my paint. I'll alternate from what my actual photo reference may have to accommodate what I'm trying to achieve in a painting. So if you know me, you know I like contrast, so I will offer more contrast just to emphasize something that I want. So you can see I'm adding a little bit more of a darker value between the tom and the hen right there at that little corner because it just gave it enough punch to it. And now as I'm putting in more snow, I'll go with a lighter value in my snow and go a little bit more impasto. This is fun for me because to me, I can feel the weight of this snow now. Now that I'm getting it a little bit thicker, you can really see how thick it is. I'm giving it a little dark area here because, folks, I want to sign it. And I already have that light area underneath it, so it'll make it easy for me to use my paint scraper and to sign it. And but I am also adding just more foliage and just moving through the piece. And I'm getting close. I'm getting close to the end of this piece because I'm going impasto. I'm going thick. And so this is fun. And so because the birds are creating their own shadow, the snow that is a little bit in patches underneath the birds is going to be a lot cooler in temperature and darker in value. So that's why it's very blue. And I love to use my little Creative Mark wipeout tools because they're great for signing paintings. And now I can use that small pointed round, that Eclipse 0 pointed round, to do some of the little details that you might have in the foreground with the brush and the stuff poking through the snow and this kind of stuff. This is fun. This is where I almost always enjoy the last part of a painting the most because this is where I get to have fun with the detail and move things around and do all that kind of stuff. But we still have little bits of snow to add, don't we? And you'll see. I'll be adding that too very, very soon. Now for the closer snowflakes, the ones that are most immediately closest to the viewer in the painting. And so I can make them a little bit bigger and space them out a little bit more. And if they're falling close to the snow, that's when I'll actually switch to a darker value in my gray. I almost never use white. It's kind of just a grayish white. But you'll see that I'll actually switch to a darker color sometimes. And some of these snowflakes look pretty impasto. And that's okay. I think it adds to the mood. I just wanted this to look very cold, very, very moody. I wanted it to have that mood. And this is fun. This has been a really fun piece. And folks, if you've got any questions at all about anything I'm covering in today's painting, please don't hesitate. Just leave it in the comment section and I'll get to you. And you know what? Enjoy. And I hope you folks have a very happy Thanksgiving.
And we're done. Now, I had a lot of fun with the snow, I gotta admit. You can see how impasto or thick that snow is in the foreground. And I wanted this to feel cold because quite frankly, folks, here in East Tennessee, it's already cold. I mean, 22 degrees at 6 o'clock makes it hard to walk the dog. But anyhow, this was a lot of fun. And of course, being inspired by turkeys and Thanksgiving, this is what kind of came out. So I hope you enjoyed today's painting. And if you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And if you have any questions about anything you saw in today's video, go ahead and ask. Just leave it in the comment section and I'll get to it. This was fun. You know, I love all the colors, the iridescence that shine out on a tom turkey. And, you know, of course, the hens are a lot more subdued in color. And he's still showing out and it's snowing, right? It's just like a guy. Thanks for joining me. Doesn't it just make you feel cold when you look at these birds? I had a ball painting this. Now, I probably was able to complete it in about 2 days. It's an 8x10. It's on a very smooth substrate. And I think I was just really inspired. I just really enjoyed doing it. And I have to say, I had been on a trip and had seen some Sargent pieces that I had never seen before. John Singer Sargent's like my favorite artist. And he had done a painting of a turkey. Now, I'd never seen this painting before. I'll go ahead and show you the painting here of John Singer Sargent's turkey. And you can see how he just kind of had the weight of the turkey in the corner, plus balanced it with the weight up in the other corner, the opposite corner, with this courtyard. And it was just a cool piece. And yes, indeed, I was inspired to paint turkeys, and my inspiration came from everywhere. The fact that I needed some turkeys in my life because tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and 2, because I had just seen this painting. So it's interesting, right? Inspiration can come from anywhere. And you know what? Leave it in the comment section. I'd love to hear what inspires you to do a particular painting, and if it's an unusual place where your inspiration comes from. So again, thank you so much for joining me. And if you have any questions whatsoever about anything you saw in today's video, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. I'll get to it. And maybe you even just want to say, hey, you know, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know you're watching, and say something in the comment section. I want to hear from you. And if you are here in the United States, I want to wish everybody here a happy Thanksgiving. And I hope you got your turkey. So from Kingsport, Tennessee, I want to say thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.